Welcome to the Restricted Handling Podcast. Let's dig in. Here's what's been going on in Russia in the last 24 hours. Let's start with Russia's information space, because what we talked about yesterday as digital pressure is now much more concrete. On February 11th and 12th, Moscow attempted to fully block WhatsApp inside Russia. That's more than 100 million users. At the same time, Telegram, which we mentioned previously in the context of throttling, is now being actively degraded through Russia's state-controlled national domain name system. Here's what that means in practical terms. Certain domains, YouTube, WhatsApp Web, BBC, Deutsche Welle, Tor, VPN services, are being removed from Russia's internal DNS infrastructure. So when users try to access them, their browsers don't show blocked. They show does not exist. It's not just censorship. It's digital erasure. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov framed this as enforcement of Russian law. Lawmakers have floated the possibility of a full WhatsApp ban by the end of 2026. Interesting timing, given the legislative elections coming in September that year. And here's where this becomes more than just a domestic tech story. Telegram isn't just social media in Russia. It's infrastructure. Regional governors post emergency updates there. The Defense Ministry uses it for official communications. Pro-war bloggers use it for fundraising, and Russian troops use it for logistics and coordination. Yesterday, we noted complaints from pro-war channels about throttling. That pushback has intensified. Bloggers are openly saying Telegram is embedded in frontline communications. The Kremlin is publicly downplaying that claim. So you've got a government trying to tighten control ahead of elections, but potentially stressing the same digital pipes some of its own war effort relies on. That tension is new. Now let's pivot outward. Overnight, February 11th into the 12th, Ukraine conducted coordinated long-range strikes inside Russia. We talked yesterday about the Volgograd Oil Refinery. Now we've got additional clarity. Ukrainian forces reportedly struck a major main missile and artillery directorate GRAU arsenal near Kotlubon in Volgograd Oblast, about 320 kilometers from the border. Ukrainian officials say domestically produced FP-5 Flamingo cruise missiles were used. Secondary detonations were reported. Regional authorities acknowledged a fire at a Ministry of Defense facility. Then there's the Ukhta Oil Refinery in Komi Republic, roughly 1,750 kilometers from Ukraine. That's deep. Fires reportedly hit crude processing and visbreaker units. The refinery has annual capacity around 4.2 million tons and supplies the Russian military. Tambov Oblast saw a strike near the Michurinsk Progress Plant, tied to aviation and missile control systems. So we're not talking about symbolic drone harassment. This is ammunition storage, fuel processing, and missile guidance infrastructure, all in the same operational window. On the other side of that exchange, Russia launched another major strike package into Ukraine on the night of February 11th into the 12th. According to Ukrainian reporting, 24 Iskander-M ballistic missiles and S-300 variants, one Kh-5969 cruise missile, and 219 drones, roughly 150 Shahed type. Launch points included Bryansk, Rostov, Krasnodar, Smolensk, and occupied Crimea. Ukraine says it intercepted 15 ballistic missiles and 197 drones, but 9 missiles and 19 drones hit 13 locations. Kyiv saw about 3,700 apartment buildings lose heating. Dnipro had roughly 10,000 residences without heat. More than 100,000 families lost electricity. Ukraine's energy deficit, which peaked at about 6 gigawatts during colder weeks, is now estimated around 4.3 to 4.5 gigawatts thanks to warmer temperatures. But generation capacity still trails projected demand. And civilian casualties in 2025, independent reporting indicates at least 2,919 killed and 17,775 injured last year. Drone strikes accounted for 1,376 deaths. In Kherson Oblast alone, 359 civilians were killed and 2,903 injured. This isn't background noise, it's sustained pressure. Now let's talk about Munich. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to meet President Volodymyr Zelensky at the Munich Security Conference. Rubio described the moment as a new era in geopolitics. Pentagon Policy Chief Elbridge Colby urged European NATO members to step up combat capabilities and assume greater responsibility for defense. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte announced hundreds of millions pledged through the Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, PEARL, the mechanism for purchasing US-made weapons. The UK announced a £540 million package, £150 million for US-made interceptors, and $390 million for 1,000 lightweight multi-role missiles to strengthen Ukrainian air defenses. Norway committed about $443 million. France guaranteed loans for air-to-ground weapons and surveillance systems. The Netherlands is transferring F-16 simulators to speed pilot training. Zelensky stated that Ukraine backs U.S. peace proposals and is willing to hold elections and even a referendum on a settlement, but only after a ceasefire and written security guarantees. He specifically noted that whether the U.S. would intercept incoming missiles remains unresolved. So diplomacy is active, but conditional. Inside Russia, there's another development worth noting, and this one didn't feature as prominently yesterday. President Vladimir Putin signed a decree establishing a general staff within Rosgvardia, the National Guard led by Viktor Zolotov. Rosgvardia already has roughly 370,000 personnel. It has absorbed Interior Ministry's special forces like GRAU, SOBR, and OMON. It has revived tank units. Now it formally gains operational planning and intelligence responsibilities. Rosgvardia was created in 2016 as a regime stability force, internal control, riot response, loyalty architecture. Giving it a general staff structure deepens its institutional weight. At the same time, Russian regional finances remain under strain. Orenburg Oblast's debt rose 66% over the past year. In December 2025, Nizhny Novgorod transferred 400 million rubles to Orenburg to cover military recruitment bonuses. Governors are reportedly increasing personal security spending. Recruitment continues beyond Russia's borders as well. Investigative reporting indicates foreign mercenaries from Latin America and Africa are being processed through Saransk, Mordovia. Recruits reportedly receive 810,000 rubles up front and 300,000 monthly, plus potential citizenship after 6 months. And abroad, Russian Foreign Intelligence Service Director Sergei Narishkin met Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to discuss Gaza and regional security coordination. So zoom out. Russia is tightening its digital ecosystem, formalizing internal security structures, and managing fiscal stress at the regional level. Ukraine is pushing strikes deeper into Russian industrial nodes. NATO is moving procurement money through structured channels, and diplomacy is happening, but on rigid terms. Thanks for listening and being part of the RH community. Please take a moment to leave a 5-star review. If you want to see some changes, email us at info@restrictedhandling.com. We also publish a daily written intel brief on Substack, where you'll find even deeper coverage of Russia and China, along with insights on Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK.